Hello and welcome to IT 140. I am Curtis George, the Technical Program Facilitator for Computer Science. For this video, I will be giving an overview of the final project script, drafts, and the final project submissions. As you can see on the screen right now, this kind of gives you an idea of what we want for the final script drafts. The final script drafts are located in Codio. For this example, I'm using the script 1 draft, which is the rental car billing script. If you go to Codio and open this up, you'll see rental car step-by-step instructions on how to create this script. For the final project scripts, our script drafts, all we're basically expecting is a draft version which includes the code and comments, and for you to actually develop this in Codio. It's going to be a very rough format. I mean, as long as your instructor can tell that you've actually worked on it, you have some code put together, and it works, that's fine. The only difference between the draft project you're creating and the final project is that you're going to make sure that everything's formatted correctly, everything lines up, everything has comments. And for the final project, as you can see here, you will actually just need to add a reflection as well, reflecting the different problems that you encountered and how you approached solving these problems. So for the final project, all you need is basically what you did for the draft project, and include a reflection on how you solve the different problems that you encountered. So if we take a look how this all lines up, you can see that, for example, for the rental car billing draft, just before that you go over conditional statements and numerics and string expressions. With this, in the rental car billing, the idea behind it basically is that you basically get an input from the user. You process the input with a conditional statement, then output the result. Each of the project drafts should only take up to a half an hour to complete, and we'll go ahead and go over it a little bit. When you open up the screen, you should come to this first section here. What we expect you to do is collect customer input, calculate the costs from the customer input, and display the results to the customer. First, you need to collect the customer input. As you can see on the right, it kind of tells you how to do that. So in this case, I would assign rental code equal to this statement here as input. Python, you gotta use input as a keyword, and just basically copy paste what you have on the right here into the parentheses, and that will prompt the user to give an input of either a B, a D, or a W. The next thing we need to do is figure out the number of days rented and the number of weeks rented. Input could be the same. Basically, you just set the number of days rented to days rented, and once again collect the input or assign it a value of an input, and you can copy and paste like you did before. And of course this has to be in parentheses. However, whoops, you do have to have this in some sort of conditional statement though, which is going to be the next step. And they kind of give an example here. If rental code B, this is what you got to charge. So you can say if, in fact, you copy this whole thing over here. To create a statement. Once you have the number of days, or if they're going to rent weekly or do the budget, I guess, you have the formulas over here. Make sure also that you do use the double equal signs, because that is or compares equal or equality in a conditional statement. If you just use a single equal sign, that just assigns a value, so be careful of that. And basically you do the same thing with all the others. You create variables, and calculate different values. If you need you can do like an additional else if. Basically you do elif, or else if, or you can do an else statement too. So for example here, if we do rental code is equal to a value of W, you do something else do something else. So so you go through this whole activity doing this. We kind of give you the formulas over here. Also make sure that you line up with the comments. Like we can put this under this comment since we're checking for that here. And then the conditional is actually going to go down below here, since we don't really have a budget charge until that point. And that's pretty much it. Just go through this exercise, line up the inputs and outputs. Make sure that with the output that you output a floating point number for the cost, that, you know, since it's a dollar value, and that has a precision of 2, and you'll find that in the exercise too, how to do that. And that's pretty much it for the rental car project. Let's go ahead and go back to our overview here. For the next draft, you're going to create a grocery list, and when you open it up, you should come to this first screen. For this project, it's basically the same. We expect you to create a user input. The only difference is that we're going to use loops. In this case, we're going to use a while loop and a for loop, and then of course provide a output to the console using a for loop. As you can see over here, we need to create a list and an item using different data structures. In this case, it's asking for a grocery item list. It actually tells you what to do over here. I mean, it wants you to set the grocery items to this value here. So I mean, all you really need to do is, you know, copy paste, and there you go. You got your item for, or at least a start to your grocery item list. Grocery history, kind of the same thing. Kind of tells you how to do it here. You can really just copy paste this. It tells you how to set up the list using basically these dictionary items over here. Pretty simple. It already tells you to use stop and go, create the while loop. For the while loop, all we really want to do is collect the input. In this case, while stop is equal to go. And I believe we're also using OR C for continue. So stop is equal to or assigned to C. In this case. So just collect your inputs. If you go down, scroll down, you'll see, for example, item name. Oops. Item name. Excuse my typing. In this case, you can just do what we did before. Create the input. Item name equals input, and paste it in, and you collect the item name. For quantity, you would just do input as well. Copy this again from over here. In this case, we want to use the input as an integer. So we would do it like that. And the price, I won't show you, you can do as a float. And once you have that value or those values, you can add it to your item, which should be just adding to your grocery item list, or grocery items, or updating it. And I'll just give you the first part of this, but you can just say, for example, add the items as the user inputs it, and just add it to your history. By appending it, and item, just like so. And that's basically their first loop, which is a while loop. That's what they're talking about here. Oops, I hope everybody caught my mistake up in the while loop. These actually shouldn't be assigned values, these should be equal values. That way you'll iterate through the loop until these conditions are met. Please keep in mind I'm not finishing this loop for you. You still have to create a condition to stop the loop once all the items are entered or inputted. For the for loop, we'll go ahead and start creating that. They kind of give it to you here. So you're just iterating through the grocery history right here. And we're just trying to figure out item totals and that sort of thing. So I mean, you can just copy paste from the other side over here. In this case, we're going to use the item to add to this list. So from the grocery history, and same thing with price. And that way, when it iterates to the loop, it'll add the total of all the items. And you have to do this for the grand total being the total price, which you use a float and just print it all out. Print it actually print it as you go through this loop. I guess. Well, and then of course outside the loop, you're going to create a total of the grand total, once it adds up all the different items for the grand total in that for loop. And that's pretty much it for the grocery list. Okay, now let's go over back to the overview. Just like with this one, the next draft is going to be ATM. The idea behind the ATM is that it's giving you an opportunity to use functions, and it's pretty straightforward. You do have a module before that goes over functions. So if we go ahead and open that up, pretty simple. We just collect customer input just like you did in the previous two drafts. Calculate the ending balance and display the results to the customer. For collecting user input in this first case, we're asking the customer, what would you like to do? If they choose D, then we call a deposit function. To create a deposit function, basically all you do is use the def keyword and create a function named deposit with some parentheses, and that's pretty much it there. We start out with an account balance of $525. To use that in our function, we need to declare it as a global and create an input. As you can see over here, we want the input to be how much, or the customer prompt, I guess, to be how much would you like to deposit today. So deposit amount is assigned to input, which in this case we're going to use what we just copied. Of course, that has to be in parentheses, or I mean quotes. And just keep building your function like that, using the formulas that we have on the side here. Like for example, you can just copy that. Account balance would just add your deposit amount you just got as input from the user, and that's pretty much it with developing functions. Just I believe you have to do a withdraw function as well. Basically doing the same thing, printing the correct values, and then creating a summary. And that's pretty much it for that. So it's basically just you're creating an if statement. Of course, you could use if else and else to create the different conditionals, and then call the different functions, and each function will do something different. And that's pretty much it for the ATM project draft. I'll go ahead and let you guys fill out, finish the rest of it. Okay, now let's kind of overview. Go back to the overview. I guess the next one is regular expressions. You do a module on regular expressions just before that. I guess we're not going to go over file handling. So let's go ahead and I'll give you an overview of that as well. So for pattern searches, we'll come to this first screen here. In the previous module, in regular expressions, they had a website that they pointed you to that was really good for this exercise. It's within Python documents. Kind of goes over the expressions that are used. For example, with this exercise, we use the caret right here, which matches the start of a string. There's also other patterns or expressions you can use in searching a pattern. We use double brackets for indicating a set of characters that we're looking at or searching for. I know another one we use in this exercise is the /s, which is indicates a space. So this is really a very good website to go to if you want to understand the different expressions you use in a search. Just thought I'd show you that. For this first section here, for example, we're going to find all the print all the number of non-alphanumeric characters. We're going to use find all, and with regular expressions, we did import the regular expression library here. In this case, we would use, I guess we're going to use results to figure out how many characters we have in this string. So just like in the previous exercises, you assign the variable to something. In this case, we're going to use find all to set up our regular expression to find all the characters of the string. We always start it with an R, indicating that we have what follows as the expression. Double brackets to set up what we're searching for. And in this case, I wanted to start with A, or basically A through Z. So I would add a caret and then A through Z. And then also I wanted to count all the capital letters. So I would just do A and Z. And then I wanted to go through the string above, which I've called or is lorem ipsum, and it'll basically count all your, or actually it'll go through all the characters in that string with that pattern. To output this or to print this, just like the hint said, you would just use length of the results, and that will give you the number of characters in that string. So we're going to keep doing this with different patterns. Next one, it wants to find all the sit emit words with either a dash or a colon. Pretty much you set it up the same way. In fact, you can just copy and paste this. In this case, we want to find all the patterns with a dash. So in this case, we would input the word, I guess, that we're trying to find here, which is a sit emit, and we're kind of looking for the dash and the colon. So we can go ahead and set up the pattern search for that. In this case, go ahead and hit up your colon, your brackets again, your square brackets, oops. And I guess we don't really need a bracket here, since that's the keyword we're looking for. We're just really looking for the pattern in the middle of that word. So, and we need a colon as well. So we can use a straight up line to indicate an OR condition. So we'll do that, and I want a colon as well. So, and put brackets around that. Okay. And that's pretty much it. It'll find all the sit emets with a dash or a met and print the results here. I do believe the only other thing we really look at or talk about is a replace, or where we replace a value. And let's see where that is. Oh, there it is. So in this case, we just want to replace the colon and the dash with a space, which is pretty straightforward. In this case, we can just copy this again and paste. We're going to use the sub function. We wanted to find this pattern here, so we'll just leave that the same. And we want to replace it with a space, so we can go ahead and just add another condition here. In fact, we don't even have to have a pattern, we just replace it with a space. Submit. And we want to place all the values in that string. So that's pretty much all you would do for that part of it. I think there's another part here where you just search for all the sit emets with a space, and you can use the expression that I was talking about on the web page for \s as a pattern to search for. So I'll leave that up to you guys to do that. That's pretty much it for that. To save all your projects, for each one of the projects, you just scroll to the end. It kind of gives you some instructions. And of course, try to clean your script up, add your comments, your own comments, and you can download by just simply clicking on View and the file tree, and then you right-click on whatever project you're working on and just download. And that should download to your computer, and you can submit that to your instructor. And I'll just quickly go over that real quick. So View, file tree, and then in this case just right-click this and download. And that's pretty much it for that. And that is all I have for this overview of all the drafts and the final projects. And I hope you have fun programming with Python, and I hope you have fun with your final draft projects and final projects for IT 140.